What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys a pretty cool video today. Today we're going to be talking about shiny hunting in Pokemon Go and what the different methods are and the different techniques you can use to enhance your chances to find a shiny in Pokemon Go, especially if you're aiming for a specific target. Now in this video I'm going to be breaking down a number of different methods of how you can go about getting shinies, and we're going to be using a couple different resources like the SilphRoad. All this information will be in the description below if you're interested in checking it out on your own. But lately I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go, man. I've been having a blast going out into the real world and searching and finding shiny Pokemon, or in my case as of late not finding shiny Pokemon. But there are some ways you can enhance your chances and ultimately give yourself a better shot at getting a shiny. Now I'm going to be looking at the SilphRoad's data here. They compiled a ton of data from a bunch of different users on this website. SilphRoad is like one of the kind of like the competitive headquarters for Pokemon Go, and they compiled a ton of user data to try to determine what the shiny rates are, and they have some pretty significant numbers here, so it's pretty good estimates as to what the different shiny chances are and the best ways to go about getting shinies. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But right now there's a handful of shiny Pokemon that are available in the game. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle were all available through community days. Pikachu, Shellder, obviously you can hatch for Pichu. You've got things like Magby can be hatched, which can then evolve into Magmortar. Magikarp's a pretty common one. Eevee just had its community day, which is how you can get all of its evolutions. Omanite and Kabuto were a recent event. Aerodactyl, also a recent event, often found in raids. Articuno and Zapdos, Moltres hasn't been released yet, but these were a raid exclusive events. Dratini, which was a community day. Togepi can be hatched in eggs and then evolved into Togetic. Natu is released right now. Mareep was a community day. Sunkern is out right now. Murkrow is also out right now. Why Not is from eggs. Pineco is out right now, and the one I'm aiming for the most. Snubbull is out right now. Houndour as well during the Johto event. Larvitar was a community day. Lugia and Ho-Oh were both raids. Ho-Oh is actually this weekend, the weekend I'm filming this. Poochyena also available in the wild. Makuhita and Meditite were from a fighting type event, but they can be found now. Sableye, Mawile. Sableye obviously from the Ghost event with Shuppet and Duskull. Again, these can still be found in the wild. Mawile can be found through raids. Same with Absol, which is down here. Those can be both found in raids. Aeron's found in the wild. Plusle and Minun were kind of enhanced during a kind of an event that happened a few weeks ago, but they can still be found in the wild. Same with Roselia. There was a day where they were enhanced odds. Wingull will be coming out pretty soon as well. In fact, I think next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Wingull is coming out very soon. Wailord was released during an event for Earth Day. That's still available. Same with Swablu. And then Snorunt, very rare to find, but they can be shiny. Luvdisc as well, and then Kyogre from raids. So those are all the shinies that are available right now. We know Chikorita is coming in a community day in the future. Community day shinies are generally the easiest way to get shinies, but we'll kind of break down all the different things here. So I'll be summarizing a lot of stuff. So let's dive right in, as they say right here. So random encounters, just clicking on a Pokemon. So for those who don't know, when you're playing Pokemon Go, the only way to find a shiny is you got to click on that Pokemon. And just because I click on a Pokemon doesn't mean that my buddy who's standing right next to me who clicks on that same Pokemon, if I get a shiny, that doesn't mean they're going to get a shiny. It doesn't work that way. You can also click into a Pokemon if it's shiny and you run from it and then click in it again, it's still going to be shiny. Same goes if you click into it, it's not shiny, and you run and you click into it again, it's still not going to be shiny. So if you accidentally run or something like that, you don't have to worry about it, but you do have to click into the Pokemon in the like overworld, click into it, have it pop up, and there should be a sparkle effect. Now there has been a little bit of a glitch as of late. You want to disable your AR is what I'd recommend, so it doesn't do this panning motion. If you can get rid of that panning, then you'll actually see the shiny sparkles pop up. A lot of shinies are pretty obvious, like Houndour and Snubbull, but things like Sunkern and Natu, a little trickier to see, so keep that in mind. The estimated averages here are 1 in 450, which normally in main series Pokemon games, the original odds are 1 in 8,000, and then 1 in 4,192. I'm just going to estimate here. 1 in 4,192, Shiny Charm brings you down to 1 in 1365. Masuda Method puts you at about 1 in 512. So that's pretty cool, but that's because you can get a lot of encounters pretty quickly in the wild. When you're doing Pokemon Go, you're a little bit limited. So you're first of all limited to the Pokemon that can be shiny, and then you're limited to what you actually click on. So in this case, it's about 1 in 450 encounters, and they've actually logged 600,000 encounters, 1325, and they have a pretty 95 confidence interval that it's between 1 in 425 and 1 in 475. So 1 in 450 seems pretty solid there. Doesn't seem like there's any sort of difference between weather boosted and non-weather boosted, so some information there. So ultimately, all the Pokemon that I listed, and again, there's going to be links in the description of all the Pokemon I listed on LeakDuck that can be shiny at this point. If you see them in the wild, just click on them. You don't have to catch them. Just click on them, see if they're shiny. If not, just click run. 1 in 450 chance. Very, very unlikely, but it does happen. I had an Incense shiny Shellder pop up. I've gotten Shuppets and things like that when they weren't boosted odds. you just gotta grind it out, man. You just gotta grind it out. Now, there are special events. They seem to kind of ultimately result in the same thing. Earth Day for Whalmer was the same, but I think this has changed. This data is like maybe 2 months old, and I do think this has changed because the recent Roselia event and the recent Mine and Plusle event, it did seem as though those shinies were boosted. People were finding Roselias like crazy. People were finding Plusle and Mines like crazy. This upcoming Wingull event seems as though they're going to be likely enhanced. Not quite to the same extent as Community Day, but it does seem as though there's some sort of boosted odds there. So it's a little tricky to say, but again, when it comes to shiny Pokemon in the wild, your best bet is just to click on that Pokemon, see if it's shiny. If it is, awesome. If not, you just run or catch it or whatever you want to do. Now, talking about species differences, again, this seems to be about the same, right? It seems like there's enough data to say, okay, you know what? It all kind of falls in the same range. So we can kind of assume it's about 1 in 450 encounters. That's kind of what we're looking at for just standard random encounters, okay? Now moving to raids here. This one's really interesting. Legendary raids seem to have the best yield, about a 1 in 19 or a 1 in 20 chance. We've seen this with Articuno, we've seen this with Zapdos, we've seen it with Lugia, we've seen it with Ho-Oh, of course, coming out again this weekend, which is very cool. So if you do a legendary raid, you have a really good chance to get a shiny. Like, that's probably one of the best options to do. And I think that they increase the chances of getting a shiny for the legendaries just because they're so much harder to do and they take a lot more effort because you need multiple people to do a legendary raid. So the absolute best way to get a shiny in Pokemon Go is to do legendary raids with shinies. Ho-Oh again this weekend. I'm going to be playing in New York City for the Pokemon Go meetup that I'm doing, and I definitely feel like I'm going to get some shinies, man. It just seems like it's I should have some luck with Ho-Oh because if I do 20 raids, in theory, I should at least get one shiny, right? The next one is exclusive raid Pokemon. So Mawile and Absol were exclusive raids. This is some of the interesting data here. Obviously, Aerodactyl was also one of those. They're estimating about 1 in 45. So if you have a Pokemon like a Mawile or an Absol or a raid Pokemon, Whalmers, Makuhitas, Charmanders, Roselias, all these Pokemon right now are raid bosses, or they have been recently. We're estimating about 1 in 45 to get those as a shiny. So not quite as good as the legendary boost, but still really good that you can potentially get a shiny through raids. So if you're looking like me right now, I'm going to use this example throughout this video. If you're like me and you're trying to get a shiny Pineco during this event, the best way for me to get that shiny Pineco is to do raids. Raids. If you can find a raid of that particular Pokemon you want, just do the raids, man. That seems to be the best way to go. So they broke out some different stuff here with legendaries about 1 in 19. Mawile was about 1 in 35. Aerodactyl turned out to be 1 in 45. Absol was 1 in 75. So very, it seemed like Absol was a little bit of an outlier there, but they kind of summarized it down a little bit to get to about the 1 in 45 mark. Community Day. This is, I said legendary raids were the best. This is the best way to get shinies right here. Community Day shinies, bro. This is how it is. If you do a community day and you play for at least like a half hour to an hour, you're probably going to get one shiny. Now, I have seen people who have the worst luck in the world. I really have, and I feel bad for those people. But the most recent EV day, I did 4 hours of the 6 hours. I got 18 shinies. So it's really easy to get shinies if you go to the right spots and kind of really grind it out, but it's about a 1 in 25 chance to get a shiny on a community day. So the next one coming up is Chikorita, and there's some theories of what's going to come after that. But if you want to guarantee yourself some shinies, you can usually get multiple. Hop on a community day, go out to like the mall or the local park or whatever. You're probably going to see other people playing. It's actually a lot of fun, and you'll have a really high chance to get a shiny. 1 in 25. You can do what I do, and if you're moving, if you're like in a city or something like that, click on it. If it's not shiny, just keep moving. Go to the next one. Don't waste time trying to catch them. Just if you're really grinding for shinies. Otherwise, you know, catch them. But usually they make it a little easier to catch those Pokemon. Now, one of the big topics here is egg hatches and field research. So we're going to talk about that next. Now, egg hatches, I have yet to hatch a shiny. Kind of a bummer, man. But I was hopeful. But they're saying that this here, it seems that the base shiny rate for egg hatches is higher than the base wild encounter, but the data suggests a slightly higher base rate than in wild encounters. So, you know, there didn't seem to be a ton of conclusive evidence about, you know, the egg hatches. I do think that egg hatches have a higher shiny chance, but the baby Pokemon definitely have a higher shiny chance, about a 1 in 50. So if you're hatching a Magby, a Togepi, a Wynaut, a Pichu, an Igglybuff, any of those Pokemon, it's about a 1 in 50 chance for that bad boy to be a shiny, which is pretty cool. So if you want it like that, and that's the only way to get their evolutions. You can't get shiny Magmar in the wild. You can't get shiny Togetic in the wild. You can get shiny Pikachu, that's the exception, but the other ones you can't. So you do have to hatch the eggs basically if you want a shiny Wobbuffet right now, which hopefully they change. But here's the big one, man, the field research quest encounters. So I mentioned Pineco before. I'm trying to get a shiny Pineco. Your best bet to do that is to go for the Pineco quest right now. There's a quest where if you basically evolve 3 Natus or 3 Sunkerns, you can ultimately, basically you get a free Pineco encounter. So I'm stacking those research rewards, and then I'm doing 3 at a time, and then I'm getting 3 Pinecos at a time, and I'm giving myself a shot to get this shiny Pineco. So this is the best way to go about this. If you want to get a specific shiny and it's a research reward, this is the way to do it, dude. 1 in 60, roughly 1 in 50 to 1 in 70, 95% confidence in the 1 in 60 range. Absol was a big one there. Aerodactyl was a big one there. So a handful of those Pokemon can be found through these different enhanced boosts. So there's a number of different ways that you can get shinies in Pokemon Go. Obviously, the most basic way is to simply click on Pokemon in the wild, see if they're shiny. Hopefully you have some luck, but obviously that's not going to give you the best chances. And I've been thinking about it a lot, man. And like I said, this Johto event had got me thinking about shiny hunting in Pokemon Go. And when we think about shiny hunting as someone who plays the main series games, I think about things like DexNav, and I think about things like Friend Safari and Masuda Method and things like that. And realistically, a lot of those things are kind of in this game too. They're just different methods, right? So by doing field research, by doing raids, by doing egg hatching, things like that, you give yourself a better chance to find a shiny Pokemon, which is cool, man. I kind of look at like community days or like a Friend Safari for that specific Pokemon, you know? So there are shiny hunting methods in Pokemon Go. You just have to kind of look at it a little bit differently and just use the odds in your favor, man. Just realize that, you know, what's the best way for me to get this particular shiny if I want it, and how do I go about doing that? And like I said with Pineco, hopefully by the end of this weekend I have my shiny golden Pinecone. I'm grinding it out, man. I'm trying my best to get it, but I've been doing those field research tasks. I'm stacking them up, doing 3 at a time, and hopefully getting that shiny Pinecone. So happy hunting to you guys. I wish you guys the best of luck on your shiny hunts. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was very helpful. Hit that like button down below and subscribe if you're new for more Pokemon and Pokemon Go content. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Dan. I also go by aDrive, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Thanks so much for checking out my last video. If you like that one, you'll definitely like this one, and be sure to subscribe for more as I post Pokemon videos every single day.